Seattle, famous for tech giants and breathtaking scenery, is hiding a dark crisis beneath its sparkling skyline. The city, known for its lush forests and glittering waters, is now struggling with a homelessness epidemic that is impossible to ignore. While newcomers flock to Seattle and housing prices skyrocket, more and more people are ending up without a safe place to sleep. Economic struggles, punishing weather, and deep inequalities have pushed thousands, including veterans and children, onto the streets. But how could this happen in a city praised for its prosperity? Seattle seems like a dream come true. Visitors first see its vibrant beauty, the sun shimmering across Puget Sound, framed by evergreen trees stretching toward the sky. However, beyond this picture-perfect facade lies a heartbreaking truth. Walk just a few blocks downtown, and you'll quickly notice something unsettling. Amid bustling cafes and shining skyscrapers, entire communities are forced to live in tents and makeshift shelters under bridges and highway overpasses. The shocking contrast between towering luxury offices and ragged encampments demands answers. How did Seattle, a place known worldwide for innovation and economic boom, end up with one of America's most visible homelessness crises? This is the mystery at the core of today's investigation. Every city hides secrets behind its attractive facade, but Seattle's are especially stark. While huge corporations rake in billions, ordinary residents are left struggling to find basic shelter. To fully grasp Seattle's crisis, we must look at how prosperity and poverty collide in this city of contradictions. But the real roots of Seattle's homelessness nightmare run much deeper. Seattle didn't just wake up one day with a homelessness problem. The issue has deep historical roots, dating all the way back to its earliest days in the mid-1800s. When Seattle was just a rough-and-tumble frontier town, certain neighborhoods became known as skid roads, areas infamous for poverty and hardship. These skid roads were home to outcasts and those who had fallen on hard times, laying the groundwork for the homelessness problem Seattle faces today. During the Great Depression of the 1930s, Seattle's crisis exploded into the public eye. Families were thrown onto the streets, forced to build makeshift settlements known as Hoovervilles. These desperate communities sprang up across the city, built from scraps of metal and wood. Life in these settlements was brutal. Residents suffered without proper sanitation, clean water, or enough food to eat. Yet even amid this harsh reality, a sense of community persisted, as neighbors helped each other survive in the face of overwhelming odds. But this tragic chapter wasn't Seattle's last. In fact, the city would soon face another shocking economic catastrophe. In the 1970s, Seattle experienced what became known as the Boeing bust. The aerospace giant, one of the city's largest employers, suddenly downsized, leaving thousands of workers unemployed almost overnight. The economic shockwave was devastating. People who once enjoyed stable, middle-class lives suddenly found themselves unable to pay their bills or keep their homes. The housing market, already strained, collapsed further under the pressure. Families who had lived in Seattle for generations were suddenly forced onto the streets, adding fuel to the city's ongoing homelessness crisis. But why has homelessness continued to grow in Seattle despite the city's explosive tech boom? Seattle's prosperity, fueled by major companies in technology and innovation, has attracted tens of thousands of new residents over recent decades. This rapid growth has driven housing costs sky-high, pushing many longtime residents out of affordable homes and into shelters or the streets. Affordable housing disappeared almost overnight, as investors rushed to capitalize on the booming market. Neighborhoods once considered affordable quickly transformed into expensive enclaves, leaving lower-income residents with nowhere to go. Additionally, Seattle's harsh weather, heavy rains, chilling winds, and frigid winters has intensified the hardships of homelessness. Living outdoors isn't just uncomfortable in Seattle, it's downright dangerous. Exposure to these elements takes a severe toll on the health of individuals experiencing homelessness, making it even harder to recover or regain stability. And the consequences of this crisis are profound. not just for those directly affected, but for the entire community. Homelessness doesn't just impact individuals. It affects everyone in Seattle. Increased homelessness strains local resources, from hospitals to emergency services. Community tensions rise, with residents frustrated by growing encampments and public safety concerns. Businesses struggle as customers avoid areas perceived as unsafe. It's a vicious cycle, fueling deeper social division and resentment. Moreover, homelessness carries profound personal consequences. Veterans who bravely serve their country are left abandoned. Children experiencing homelessness face disruptions in education, emotional trauma, and insecurity about their futures. Families are torn apart, struggling daily just to meet basic survival needs. So, what is Seattle doing to tackle this devastating issue? The city has implemented various measures, from expanding temporary shelters to funding affordable housing initiatives, but these steps haven't been enough. Critics argue that efforts have been too little, too late, and often poorly coordinated. While Seattle's leaders acknowledge the severity of the crisis, real solutions have remained elusive. Activists and community members demand more effective policies, better funding, and coordinated action to help those suffering on the streets. Meanwhile, innovative grassroots efforts are emerging. Local nonprofits and volunteer groups tirelessly provide emergency services, healthcare, and basic needs directly to homeless populations. These community heroes offer a glimmer of hope and demonstrate the profound resilience and compassion Seattle is capable of, but without comprehensive support and decisive action from city leadership, their efforts can only go so far. This brings us back to the pressing question: can Seattle turn the tide on this devastating homelessness crisis? As you watch this documentary, think deeply about the unseen layers that shape the cities we admire. Seattle is undeniably beautiful, prosperous, and innovative, but it's also a city deeply divided by wealth and poverty. Addressing homelessness here is not just a moral imperative. It's essential for preserving the city's future prosperity, safety, and humanity. This is Seattle, a city of staggering beauty and painful contradictions, grappling daily with the harsh realities of inequality and homelessness. The story doesn't end here. Seattle's battle with homelessness is ongoing and urgent. As we delve deeper into this issue, you'll learn exactly how these forces continue to shape the city we see today. Prepare to witness the shocking realities, brave individuals, and powerful stories that reveal Seattle's hidden crisis. The truth is more complicated and much more alarming than anyone ever imagined. A booming skyline can hide deep cracks, and Seattle's cracks are widening fast. The shakeups of earlier decades warned that unchecked change brings hidden costs. Today, those warnings ring out louder than ever as the city wrestles with a fresh tech-fueled storm. During the 1990s and early 2000s, Seattle rocketed from maritime crossroads to global tech magnet. Microsoft, Amazon, and waves of bold startups poured high-paying jobs and venture money into every corner of the region. Glass towers rose almost overnight, reflecting a new age of innovation. Yet every shining tower cast a longer shadow. Rents surged until lifelong residents could no longer keep pace. Families who once felt secure watched for rent signs flash numbers they had never seen before. The same boom that pumped wealth into the city also squeezed lower-income neighbors to the edge of survival. This widening gap between the comfortable and the struggling is no accident. It is the product of policy choices, market forces, and human stories colliding in real time. To understand today's emergency, we must track the echoes of past economic shifts that left lasting scars on Seattle's social fabric. History shows a repeating rhythm. Boom times bring jobs, then prices climb, then those without flexible income feel the pinch. When earlier employment crashes hit, whether the Great Depression or the Boeing layoffs of the 1970s, many residents slipped into housing instability. Each downturn left behind lessons that were too often ignored. Fast forward to today, and the crisis has reached an intensity Seattle has never faced before. On any given night, thousands in the greater metro area have no stable place to sleep. These numbers are more than data points. They represent people whose daily routines have been broken apart. Look around transit hubs, under highway ramps, or near busy downtown blocks, and the reality is visible at eye level. Bright orange tarps flap beside glittering office windows. Entire tent villages line sidewalks once known for boutique shops. The city cannot look away because the suffering sits in plain sight. Why has the scale grown so quickly? Experts point to several overlapping pressures, each one powerful on its own, yet devastating when combined. Skyrocketing housing costs top the list. Over the past decade, tech salaries pushed property values to record highs. A one-bedroom apartment that cost a manageable some 10 years ago can now demand a worker's entire paycheck. Income inequality makes the squeeze even tighter. While software engineers enjoy six-figure wages, thousands of service employees see wages inch upward at snail's pace. One unexpected bill, one medical emergency, and an already thin budget snaps. Job displacement adds extra strain. Automation and corporate restructuring have trimmed many mid-level positions. The jump from a lost retail job to a fresh coding role is not a quick leap. It is often an impossible one without intensive retraining. Mental health and substance challenges are another heavy burden. Many who lose housing also battle anxiety, depression, or addiction. Seattle's treatment network is underfunded and overwhelmed, leaving people to navigate services that feel like a maze. Policy decisions matter too. Shifts in federal housing assistance and local zoning rules have slowed affordable construction. Meanwhile, Seattle's relatively mild climate makes outdoor living feasible year-round, inadvertently drawing some who have nowhere else to go. These forces blend into a brutal feedback loop. Picture a worker who loses a job, falls behind on rent, and moves into a car. Stress triggers anxiety. Without steady care, anxiety worsens, complicating the search for new work. Soon the car breaks down, and the street becomes the only option. Each setback feeds the next. Seattle's leaders know the numbers, and nonprofits race to provide emergency beds, hot meals, and health outreach. Still, the root causes roar on, growing louder every season. The scale of tents and makeshift structures tells a story of solutions that lag behind need. Community frustration is rising. Residents worry about safety, business owners fear shrinking foot traffic, and unhoused neighbors face daily risks most people never imagine. The tension spreads across neighborhoods, reminding everyone that economic prosperity loses its shine when inequality grows unchecked. Some progress is underway. New supportive housing, expanded behavioral health teams, and creative pilot programs. But success stories remain fragile. Many initiatives stall when funding runs thin or when local debates delay construction. While hope exists, the clock keeps ticking. Seattle now stands at a crossroads. Will the city harness its resources to close the gap? Or will the crisis deepen until tents crowd every vacant lot? The stakes are high, and the next chapter hinges on whether action matches ambition. And the most startling revelations are still ahead, as we uncover personal accounts that bring this emergency into even sharper focus. Seattle wakes up each morning under a cloud that money alone has not blown away. Behind world-class coffee and gleaming office towers, the homelessness emergency grinds on, reshaping daily life for everyone inside the city limits. People forced to live outside face dangers most residents never imagine. Winter rain soaks blankets. Summer heat scorches skin. Showers are scarce, restrooms hard to find, and the stress of watching belongings night after night steals precious sleep. Those hardships ripple outward. Businesses worry about safety and sanitation. Police, fire, and public health crews respond again and again, stretching already thin budgets. The price tag climbs, but the human cost climbs faster, proving that current tactics leave many neighbors in pain. Step into one dawn on the streets, and the seriousness becomes impossible to ignore. While commuters press earbuds into place, some of Seattle's most vulnerable residents unzip tent flaps and brace for another battle with the elements. Clusters of blue tarps and faded nylon pop up under bridges and beside busy transit lines. These make-do neighborhoods lack running water, steady power, or locked doors. Yet people cling to them because they offer the tiniest slice of privacy. Friendship often sparks within these fragile camps. One person keeps an eye on backpacks while another searches for coffee. Yet danger is always close. Surprise sweeps by when city crews clear an encampment or when strangers roam through after dark. Each morning starts with the same tense question. Will that tent still be standing by sunset? Simple tasks turn into obstacle courses. Finding food means tracking soup kitchen hours and hoping the line moves quickly. Charging a phone might require a long bus ride to a library outlet. Restrooms close early, leaving many to improvise whenever nature calls. Midday brings short relief. Volunteers hand out sandwiches in parks. Mobile clinics patch blisters and treat fevers. Public centers double as living rooms where people rest tired feet and catch news on wall TVs. Yet shadows lengthen fast, and with them comes a chilling choice. Risk an overcrowded shelter or brave the night air. Emergency shelters give vital breathing space, but bunks fill up in minutes. Some residents fear theft or conflict inside crowded dorms, choosing cold sidewalks instead. Every decision weighs survival against safety, and neither option feels secure. Still, courage glows inside these hard places. Shared blankets, traded snacks, and quiet jokes lighten heavy hours. Bonds grow strong because neighbors become lifelines when resources stretch thin. That spirit of resilience is the heartbeat of a crisis that might otherwise feel hopeless. City leaders know the stakes and have launched wave after wave of action. Yet the battle remains fierce. Proclaiming a state of emergency unlocked extra dollars and faster approvals. Overnight, outreach teams expanded, patrolling the streets with hot meals, medical kits, and offers of shelter. Extreme weather now triggers rapid response centers that open their doors until the danger passes. Heated mats, clean socks, and a bowl of soup can mean the difference between life and death during an icy rainstorm. Budgets have grown. Millions flow into programs that build temporary huts, fund portable toilets, and strengthen mental health squads. Waste pickups and sidewalk cleanups run on tighter schedules to keep public spaces safer for everyone. Yet emergency aid alone cannot dam the rising tide. That is why Seattle pins long-term hopes on a housing-first playbook. The idea is simple but bold. Give someone a permanent front door before demanding they solve every other struggle. Once a roof is secure, doctors, job counselors, and addiction specialists can step in with steady support. Without constant fear of eviction, residents find energy to heal, work, and plan futures. Programs across the city now rent or build units where wraparound services turn apartments into springboards. Success stories prove the power of this approach. A veteran who once slept under a viaduct now grows herbs on a tiny balcony. A single parent writes homework with her daughter at a real kitchen table. These victories show that dignity and stability rise together when housing leads the way. Nonprofits, faith groups, and everyday volunteers back up the strategy with hands-on grit. Weekend crews paint walls in new complexes. Retired nurses offer checkups in converted motels. Donated bicycles help new tenants reach grocery stores and job interviews. Piece by piece, a stronger safety net takes shape. But a final question hangs heavy. Will speed and scale ever match the need? Construction schedules drag, land prices soar, and neighborhood debates slow approvals. While new keys change some lives, hundreds more residents pitch tents for lack of options. Advocates demand quicker zoning updates, richer rental vouchers, and easier paths from shelter to lease. Critics worry about taxes and want proof that funds are working fast enough. The conversation turns heated, yet nearly everyone agrees on one truth. Leaving people on sidewalks is the most expensive and least compassionate choice of all. Seattle now stands at a decisive moment. The city can double down on proven models, rally fresh partners, and push policy past gridlock. Or it can watch the crisis deepen until light rail stations and waterfront parks brim with tents year-round. Hope survives, powered by that resilient spirit visible in every campfire story and every first night under a solid roof. The blueprint for change is on the table. What happens next could redefine Seattle's future, showing other booming cities how to blend prosperity with genuine care. When shelter becomes a luxury, cities are forced to get creative, and fast. Seattle realized early on that permanent housing wouldn't appear overnight. So, while long-term solutions slowly unfold, the city turned to something new. Innovative shelter options designed for survival and stability. Instead of relying solely on crowded emergency shelters, Seattle introduced tiny house villages and sanctioned encampments, safe, structured communities where people could live with dignity. These aren't just rows of tents. They're organized spaces offering restrooms, showers, and security. These transitional areas serve as stepping stones, helping people rebuild their lives while waiting for more permanent housing. In neighborhoods around the city, small villages have emerged. Simple wooden structures where people can lock their doors, keep warm, and start over. The goal? Stability first, then healing, and perhaps most important of all, community. Inside these villages, people don't just get a roof. They find support, structure, and the chance to believe in tomorrow again. It's not a perfect solution, but for many, it's the first step away from the cold sidewalk. But shelter alone isn't enough when deeper wounds go untreated. No honest conversation about homelessness can leave out two major forces: mental health and addiction. In Seattle, like much of the country, far too many homeless individuals face untreated illnesses or substance struggles. To respond, Seattle expanded its outreach efforts dramatically. Mobile health vans now patrol key neighborhoods. Community clinics offer mental health care, and crisis teams are dispatched to prevent dangerous situations before they spiral. It's not just about Band-Aid fixes either. Long-term care is the focus. Counseling, medication management, and peer support programs are helping thousands stabilize over time. By targeting the root causes, Seattle hopes to break the cycle for good. Behind every tent is a story, and Joe's story proves that hope still lives on these streets. Joe once arrived in Seattle full of dreams, but as the cost of living exploded in life through one curveball after another, those dreams collapsed. A lost job, a stack of medical bills, and suddenly, Joe was living in a tent near downtown. For months, he battled uncertainty and exhaustion, but Joe refused to give up. He connected with a local outreach group following the Housing First model. With their help, Joe got a real apartment, a place to call home. That small apartment changed everything. With a roof over his head, Joe could finally focus on healing. He got medical care, met with counselors, and slowly found his footing again. But Joe didn't stop there. He became a voice for others, an advocate for the very programs that saved his life. His powerful testimony urged Seattle to embrace solutions rooted in humanity, not punishment. Joe reminds us that homelessness is not a character flaw. It's a crisis rooted in systems that need fixing. Joe's journey challenges us to stop seeing the homeless as a nameless group. These are people with dreams, memories, families, just like anyone else. Joe's courage proves that recovery is real and that one safe place can spark transformation. And when you step back to reflect, the deeper truths start to surface. How can a city as forward-thinking as Seattle, a place known for cutting-edge tech and global innovation, fail to ensure all its residents have a safe place to sleep? This contradiction forces a reckoning. Prosperity and poverty shouldn't live side by side in silence. Seattle's story is not just about one city. It echoes in towns and metropolises around the world, where wealth soars while thousands sleep outside. The core issue isn't just policy, it's a question of values. What kind of society are we building when success is measured by stock prices, but thousands of neighbors can't afford rent? Seattle shows us both faces, vibrant progress and brutal neglect. And this clash demands action, not just from politicians and nonprofits, but from all of us. So ask yourself, if we love a city for its beauty, should we not also care for the people being left behind within it? Because ignoring the tents won't make them disappear, but compassion might. We, as global citizens and curious travelers, have a unique power. We don't just pass through places. We observe, learn, and reflect. And with that comes responsibility. Behind every city skyline is a story of those who built it, and those struggling to survive in its shadows. Seattle's crisis is not just a local problem. It's a challenge to all of us. How can we support communities in crisis, even from afar? How can we advocate for policies that lift people up instead of pushing them down? What role do we play in shaping a more fair and humane world? The answers aren't simple, but they start with understanding. They start by listening to stories like Joe's, by asking hard questions, by supporting efforts that prioritize dignity, not just efficiency. Seattle's homelessness crisis is real, heartbreaking, and ongoing, but it's also a story of bravery, innovation, and persistence. The people fighting this battle, on the streets and in boardrooms, are proving that change is possible when compassion leads the way. This is not the end of the story. It's the beginning of a new one. Seattle's journey isn't just about housing. It's about justice. It's about dignity. It's about rewriting the future so that no one is left behind in the name of progress. In our documentary journey today, we explored more than tents or numbers. We uncovered the layers of history, the weight of inequality, and the strength of the human spirit. From tiny homes to transformative mental health support, from policy shifts to personal survival, this city is evolving. As we close this chapter, we ask you not to forget what lies beneath the postcard views and coffee shop charm, because real change begins when we look a little deeper. If you believe in the power of awareness and the impact of storytelling, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Global Homeless News. Join us as we continue to uncover the beauty, complexity, and challenges in cities around the world.